As we all know that there are three levels of an economic class model: the upper class, the middle class, and the lower class. As times are rough and days become more restricted, the middle class is shrinking. Hi guys, we'd like to welcome you to the channel. And if you're new here and like content like this, then do subscribe, as it would really help us and let us know that we are on the right track. And we're also open to suggestions in the comment box and would love to read your take on the topic today. So without any further ado, let's get this video started. First of all, a bit about the social economic class and their levels. The upper class. They are the top of the hierarchy. They mostly are the owners of the means of production and most of the country's private wealth. They can be government officials and large business owners or top executives that have a great deal of wealth and income. The middle class. The second in the hierarchy are the middle class, which makes up most of the population in the country. They are the working class, and their income at this level is mostly above average, and they typically live in fairly expensive houses in nice and civilized neighborhoods. Most advertisements are directed towards these audiences. Almost all social mobility occurs at this level, regardless of it, whether it's upwards, downwards, or horizontal. They can be teachers, managers, office workers, and so on. And the lower class. They also are working class, but below the middle class. They have blue-collar jobs such as police officer, electricians, truck drivers, plumbers, factory workers, etc. Well, you get the idea. The middle class. So the middle class is a secure category, a point where you're not so wealthy, but not so broke either. Your kids could go to fairly good schools and get a decent education, but the pain of a middle class person is that being sandwiched between the two classes, like the upper class weighs on them, while the lower class pulls them down. There's no formal way of defining the middle class, but one thing is for sure, they're facing problems, as research says that people in the middle class can't spare $400 for an unexpected expense. And the numbers are sinking lower. To give you an idea, in the year 1971, 61% of Americans were lower class, and in 2019 it shrunk to 51%. And the recent levels have gone even lower. This decline in the middle-class population demonstrates the rising inequality of income in America. Generally, middle-class households are more prevalent in the metropolitan cities, where there is less gap between the incomes of households near the top and the bottom of the income distribution. And over the years, the middle class shrunk more in areas with greater increase in the income quality. It is evident with recent events that the middle class is becoming more stagnated and less secure even when the country's economy thrives. Now, the main reason for this, from a common man perspective, would be the rising cost of education, healthcare, and housing. College fees takes up years of savings, almost anywhere in the world. Growing industries all over the world that create a sort of competition are destroying many middle-class careers. Middle-class workers are now more likely being dragged to the lower-class levels, as their skills are overlooked based on referrals, and even if they do get a job, it's only enough to pay for daily and essential expenses like groceries and education. Life of a middle-class worker. Let's put it this way. The upper class are the business owners that require people to work for them. Now the middle-class dude who has a good degree and a perfect job profile and a high skill set becomes the manager. Now he has to hire people to work for the company, and the lower class people are not so devoted. This is partly psychological, as the lower class people do not work for skills or to excel, but for the salary, which is understandable but not accepted. This is all that they have to work with, as other middle class men are doing their own thing as their qualifications are high. Now, if you see through this perspective, lower class adults are mostly trying to have fun and make easy money. Now, this shows how the manager, who is the middle class here, is tormented by sales, as the upper class demands more and the lower class is not productive enough. But somehow he does motivate the lower class people and makes them work with devotion, discipline, and sincerity, and the sales are good. The owner of the business is satisfied, but this will not last long, as the owner would want more and demand more. This would further pressurize the manager, and he would further put it on the staff. Being an average middle-class worker gives you this sort of life, and you want to break free from it. It's like a tug-of-war between the upper and the lower classes, and the middle class is the rope. This is exactly how the socio-economic class works. As I said before, there is no exact description of the middle class level, as it is very relative to the region. the industry they work in, and the people in the same career line. This is like the upper class can easily provide a good life without breaking a sweat, while the middle class gets paid to break it for them. The lower class cannot provide and are living in a survival mode of lifestyle. But the middle class are caught in the middle. They can provide but not fulfill, and they are surviving by not so much. Furthermore, there is a COVID-19 pandemic. People save for education for their kids, old age, retirement, small businesses, or maybe a small leisure trip, or to open up a small shop or a restaurant somewhere. But a 1.5 year of complete lockdown, which meant no work or online work with half salaries, while they have to pay the bills and the rent, and don't forget the education. It was done online. This is more than enough to push a man to poverty. There is also a market factor. The market sells dreams that the lower class can't afford, and the upper class is already living. And then there is the middle class buying into anything that gives them hope of rising above this class. Do you know how many crash courses there are in sales that teach about how to sell something? Have you seen those sales gurus talk? I've heard most of them say, sell a dream. And that is what you're buying, a dream. Robert Downey Jr. famously said, "You look rich, I act poorly. We're both liars." Being a middle-class person, I'm sure you want to break the chain and rise to the upper class. This subconscious makes you drift to luxury even when you cannot afford it. And so you buy anything that has more value to tell yourself that you're rich. This is where the lie comes in. You look rich, but people who aren't, don't, as they don't need to show it. And this is the basic psychology of marketing, as said by their gurus when they say sell a dream. What does this mean? Middle-class consumers are the target customers, as they are the foundation of the consumer market and they drive the consumer demand. The middle class only seems to be shrinking, but they haven't. In my opinion, they might seem as though they are shrinking, but they are just being squeezed. There is an absurd amount of income and wealth held by those in the upper class, and the prices for education and health facilities have been rising. And the income hike of an average middle-class worker is lower in relative terms. It'll be a tragedy if this crisis is tackled only with austerity and budget cuts, without some counterbalancing measures to increase taxes, as said by Janet Gornick. So this will be the end, guys. Thank you for watching the video, and if you like it, show us by giving us a thumbs up. What are your favorite books on personal finance? Comment them down below for our viewers to see. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll see you next time. Oh, and if you haven't subscribed yet, please consider doing it. Thank you.